Hi everyone. I want to introduce you to what databases are, and I am thrilled to have everybody here in this class, and I hope starting off with this video is going to make things a little bit easier to understand what coming in, what you're going to learn, and what we're going to talk about in this course. And one of the big things is for me, where I have some things that I need to work out with you, is where your starting point is and what you already know, what you don't know that you know, and how I can get you to the point where you can understand all the information that we're going to talk about. So as we start off this little discussion here, or this little video, I want you to think about something. And one of the things I want you to think about is, do you use databases, or do you know what databases are? And I'm asking you that at the beginning of this video, and I'm going to ask you those same questions at the end of the video, because I think that your answer right now is going to be no to both those questions, unless you do have a little bit of experience. And at the end of the video, I'm hoping that you will realize that your answer to both those questions are yes. You might not have ever built a database, but I think that you've all used databases. I don't want to assume anything, so I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of how you may already be using databases so that you understand how they are used, why they are used, and how you use them. And to start off, in this course, I assume that you all registered with college, you all signed up for classes, and you got yourself set up in getting started. So doing all those things, you were using a database. Okay, so when you went in and they signed you up with Banner, and you went into Banner to register for your courses, you were using a database. Okay, so those are areas where I know you can answer, yes, I've used a database. Another example would be, again, I don't want to assume, but a lot of people do searches on Amazon. And when you go on Amazon, you're searching a huge database for products that you want to buy. Okay, again, I'm assuming that everybody has had an opportunity to do that. Maybe you don't even purchase anything. I know, to give you an example, my elderly mother will refuse to purchase anything on Amazon. So she hasn't completed the process once she's searched for something. She lets me to go in and do that for her. Okay? Now, when it comes to you actually building a database, okay, or at least putting records in, you probably have done this by going in and creating a contact list on your phone. So when you go in and you start building your contact list, you're building records within a database. And when you go to search for somebody to give them a call, you're searching your contacts, you're searching your records that you've created, and you've gone in and you can pull it up and give them a call, do a text message, or whatever. So hopefully at this point, as we're going forward, I'm assuming, but hopefully it's coming up and saying, oh yes, I am using databases. So I know basically what they are. Okay, so in this course, we're going to build some databases from scratch using Microsoft Access. Okay, and the main tool that we're going to use to get started, we're going to use 4 different tools in Access. And the first tool that you're going to get experience in is going in and building a table. Okay, and a table is an area where you're going to store all your records as you enter them into the system. Okay, so for an example, another place that you might not have entered the records in, but your doctor's office has, where you've gone in and they asked you, or they had you fill out a form saying, your name, your address, your telephone number, your insurance information, and they plug that all into the database for you. And when you go to the hospital to have x-rays or have blood taken, they access that information in the database. So you usually just have to confirm it. You don't have to fill it all out again. Okay? Just like when you go to Amazon, you sign in, it has all your information that you have given it to keep into their database. Okay? So these are all in tables. Now, tables to some of you will look like Excel spreadsheets. Okay? And with the Excel spreadsheets, you have a row for each what they call a record. Okay? And you can go into those tables and fill in the records as you go. Now, at building the components of a table is where you're going to start. And when you go to build those components, you're going to say, okay, these are the fields that I need. I need their first name. I need their last name, their address, their phone number, all the information that I want to know about a person that I need to record into my table. Now, some of the things that we're going to also talk about are properties. And where you might see a property set up is when you go to fill in a form for, let's say, Amazon, and you get to the state. They make sure that you're spelling the state correctly by giving you the list of the states. So that could be built into the properties into your database to make sure you pick from a state that's actually a state of the United States. If you pick another country, then you might get other options. But it's for a way to make sure that the content going into the table is correct. If you only want them to put in the 2-letter abbreviation for the state, you can set up a property in the field so that it will automatically limit them to 2 characters. So they know they aren't supposed to use the abbreviation and not use the whole thing. So this is all part of that build that you're going to be doing into a table to get it set up and start receiving records. Okay? The next thing that we're going to take a look at are queries. And again, queries are what you do. Anytime you go into Amazon and you say, I'm looking for shelving, okay, you're doing a query. You're doing a search. But in Access, it's called a query. And you're going to create queries to do specific searches. And by creating these queries, you can keep going back to them. So it'd be something that you would do regularly. Okay, so maybe you need to contact all your people that live in California. You could do a query and look just those people up in your database. Okay, how it's used in Amazon, they build a query for anything that you search. So anytime you go in and search for something, they'll start finding other things in that same area and they'll send it out to you and post it. Okay, so again, as you're building your queries, think about that when we're setting them up in the databases. Okay, another thing that we're going to be looking at are forms. Okay, when you go to fill out something at the doctor's office or at the hospital or here at the college, you don't get a line where you kind of have to follow across and figure out what you need to fill in. Usually it will say something like first name, and then it would give you a box to put in the first name, and then it would say last name, and it would give you the box to put in the last name. Those are forms. So we are going to create forms to make it easier for somebody to input the data that's going to be pushed back into the tables that we've created. Okay. Now, the last step of building your database, the last step is, again, think about you've completed an order, and at the end of an order, you get a invoice saying what you ordered, maybe the dates that they're going to be delivered, and how much money you've spent. Okay, when you come to college, you filled out a form filling out all the classes that you're going to take, and when you get done, you get a report that you can print out with all the classes. So it will give you your schedule that way. So the last part that we're going to be looking at in building our database is building those reports so that we have something that can be printed out. And for your report, like for you when you go to college, you're only getting your records, so you're only seeing your courses. But somebody on the campus can go in and look at the whole picture of every single student taking a class, and they can pull bits and pieces out and say, okay, I want every student that's taking Econ 101. And they can pull out all those students and look to see, are they in year 1? Are they in year 2? So it will let you go in and pull pieces of information depending on how the reports are set up. Okay, so those are the 4 main components that we're going to be working with. Now, database, one of the things that you're going to see is inside a database, you might have 5, 6, 10, 20 tables, and you can pull information from each table. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about is the relational database. And what that means is each table is going to have a piece to it that's going to attach to another table. So for an example, when you go in and you register for the college, they take all your basic information. Then you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to take the nursing program. Okay? Then when you do that, they're going to create a list and say, okay, these are examples of courses that you should take within that. And they can pull that from the different tables to figure out what you should be taking. Then once you actually start taking classes, when you go to register, they're going to ask you for your name and maybe your @ number, or they ask you to identify that this is you when you log in and you go to apply for that. What that's going to do is it'll let you enroll in the courses, and as you enroll in the courses, it's going to pull all your data from your table or the records table with all your information into each course. So this way, in each course, you don't have to type out what's your first name, what's your last name, what's your social security number, whatever they need to enroll you in that course. They just need to identify you by your @ number, and that @ number will automatically enroll you into the courses that you've registered for. So hopefully it will give you a little bit of an idea. And like I said, I was going to ask you those same questions that we did at the beginning was, have you ever used a database? And I assume at this point you're all going to say yes. And on top of it, like I said, I try not to assume, but if you're in the course, you've registered for classes, you've registered with the college, okay? You probably all have phones. Again, I don't want to assume. You might not have a contact list in your phone that you've created, okay? But you've all used databases, and you've all created records that would go into a database. Every time you fill out a form, that is going into a record, into a table, into the database that's collecting all that information. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. I'm going to describe that a little bit deeper in the modules as we get into them. Okay, but I just wanted to kind of start you off making you think, I do know a little bit about databases. I do understand the concepts, and hopefully once we actually start building them, you'll see the reasoning why we're doing different things when we actually build them. So hopefully everything will work out, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody in this class.